Hello and welcome to the first episode of MoJo JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm Raven, and this is my co-host.
I'm Allison.
So before we get started talking about the episodes we're going to discuss, let's talk a little bit about our history with the shows and how much we've each seen. So I've seen every episode of the Powerpuff Girls. I've seen the movie. I've seen even a tiny little bit of the very bad reboot. And I've seen all of JoJo's. The show came out about 3 weeks before I was born, so technically I could have been watching it in the womb. The Powerpuff Girls, that is, not JoJo, that was like 2012. And I also have, for like the past almost 10 years, I have been running a Powerpuff Girls fan page on Facebook. It's called Buttercup Utonium. That's probably a pretty common name for a Buttercup fan page, but I will drop a link in the description if y'all want to check that out. And yeah, I'm just a huge fan of the show, both shows.
I have seen quite a bit of the original Powerpuff Girls, but I've not seen any of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So that will be an adventure for me.
Okay, so today we're going to be we're going based on the DVD order, so that's a little bit different than the order in which it aired. So we will be talking about the episodes Insect Inside and Powerpuff Bluff. So basically, I'll just start talking about the episode. So of course the theme song is just super iconic. I enjoy that there's a little part during the theme song where they just kind of each have their own little motif. It's when the girls are introduced, like Bubbles has sort of like a bright twinkly sort of sounding one, and Buttercup's is a little bit more hardcore. And of course, it's just cool to see these tiny children just kicking some monsters' asses. In the beginning of Insect Inside, the girls, well, Buttercup and Bubbles anyways, are trying to unsuccessfully kill a roach, but they're just getting holes in the wall and just causing havoc trying to get it. Blossom doesn't want them to squish the roach, but she is grossed out by it. The professor saves it, and he kind of roasts the girls a little by saying how weird they'd look to a roach. Then he goes on a lecture about how resilient roaches are and proclaims that one day they'll rule the world. This is one roach they should have squished, however, because it turns out it works for Roach Coach, who hates humans and very much would like to take over the world. Roach Coach learns from the roach, whose name's Skippy, that the girls are afraid of roaches and plans to use this to his advantage for world domination. So the roaches infest the city, and the mayor unsuccessfully tries to call the girls at school, but Bubbles keeps picking up the phone and hanging up until Blossom intervenes. Blossom reminds Buttercup that the professor told them the bugs deserve to live and not be squished just because they deem them yucky, which Buttercup is not super on board for. Blossom then has the idea to catch all the roaches in a giant jar, which works for about 2 seconds before they break free and turn into one giant roach with the help of Roach Coach. The girls get trapped inside the swarm, and Buttercup asks if it's okay to squish them now. Blossom declares that it's not okay to squish something because it's yucky on the outside, but the roaches are yucky on the inside too. So they smash through the bugs, and Roach Coach falls to the ground in pieces and is revealed to be a robot inside a human mech suit. Buttercup tries to squish him, but Blossom stops her, saying that everything has its place and Roach Coach's is in jail.
So he's put in a jar in jail, and then the professor sees a spider and squishes it.
Yeah, and he just is like, well, they creep me out. And it's like, dude, you went on this whole rant about roaches, but the spider is what has to go.
even though the spider's probably more helpful than the roaches.
Yeah.
And the roach inside the robot reminds me of Men in Black with the little alien inside the suit.
Absolutely.
I like how the narrator doesn't just narrate the story, but sometimes he has to give commentary on what he thinks about what the characters are doing.
Yeah, the narrator is definitely not unbiased. He has to throw in his little jokes and his puns too all the time. So yeah, that's basically that's Insecticide. So next up we watched Powerpuff Bluff, which is the second half of this little two-parter. And it basically a group of 3 robbers commit 3 robberies, and the girls catch them each time. They keep being creeps to them, but they get caught after the 3rd time, and they start plotting to break out, and they fantasize about what it would be like to be a Powerpuff Girl. One of them is super into the idea of the power that they would get from being a Powerpuff Girl, and another one just wants to dress up and feel pretty, which is his right. Then it cuts to nap time at Pokeyoke's, and if you look on the right side of the screen, you will see that Dexter is one of the kindergartners.
Oh, I totally didn't see it.
Yeah, it's epic. They sneak little cameos for some other characters from Cartoon Network shows in there from time to time. I think there's multiple Dexter cameos throughout the series, and that's partially because the creator of Dexter's Laboratory, Gendy Tartakovsky, directed these first 2 episodes along with Craig McCracken. That's pretty cool. So the robbers then, somehow there are these 3 adult-sized Powerpuff Girls costumes in their cell. It's never explained why they're in there, but we just kind of roll with it because cartoon logic. So they escape and they start doing their old stuff again, like robbing banks, stealing jewels, and they harass the mayor in his own home. Ms. Bellum tries to convince the mayor that they're not the real Powerpuff Girls, but the mayor does not understand that. He is very obtuse, and he has the Powerpuff Girls arrested instead. Ms. Bellum visits the girls in jail and reveals all that has happened, including being called Sweet Cheeks, which makes Blossom realize that their evil doppelgangers are none other than the robbers whom they dealt with earlier. They escape jail by busting a hole through the roof, much to Blossom's chagrin, and they confront the robbers at a Chinese restaurant, try to fight them, but are confused by who's who and keep fighting amongst themselves until Blossom declares that they should each fight their counterparts instead. They do, and the girls take them out easily. The mayor declares that he knew they were innocent all along, but makes the girls go back to jail for breaking out, even though they were innocent of everything else. And I just feel the need to say that man is so incompetent, and Sarah Bellum should instead be the mayor. Please let her run for office instead.
Yes. It seemed like they were kidding at first, but then they actually, it looks like, sent them back to jail because they broke out. So I was gonna say about the bank robbers at the beginning, they totally had pantyhose pulled over their faces, and the one robber, I do believe, is none other than the boogeyman from later on, or at least it sounds like his voice.
Yeah, it might be Kevin Michael Richardson.
And one of them calls a clerk Sweet Cheeks, and she spins around, and I think it was Blossom was behind the cutout. So they rob a bank, a jewelry store, and then the mayor's house before, after their 3 strikes are out, they finally stick in jail. And then it's crazy with the costumes in there of the Powerpuff Girls that they put on, and they look crazy with their hairy long arms and legs, and they're like totally way taller than the Powerpuff Girls, but everyone still thinks it's the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, they were way too easily convinced. I just feel like everyone in Townsville, it's like in Phineas and Ferb, where Doofenshmirtz doesn't recognize Perry the Platypus unless he has his little secret agent hat on, because otherwise he's like, that's just a platypus. Perry the Platypus.
And it is funny to think that they are these big superheroes, but they're like in kindergarten and they're napping in kindergarten, and the town is relying on them to clean up everything and beat up all the bad guys.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of work for anyone. And then they're like, "You're 5. You're old enough to take care of these criminals for us." But there's a lot of times if they do have teen heroes and stuff, they're teen heroes first off usually. Maybe a preteen. You never see like a 5-year-old fighting crime. Like pretty much outside of this, there might be some comics that are like that I just haven't explored. But usually they're teenagers, and usually they're like Batman's sidekick or whatever, not like their own solo heroes. So it's just kind of neat, and it's just fun to see these tiny children just beat the absolute shit out of these monsters, and just, yeah.
The only thing that comes to mind is the Incredibles baby.
Oh yeah, Jack. I forgot about Jack.
He didn't have any powers for a while, and I'm not sure if I can't remember if he's great at beating bad guys or if it's more like they're always trying to keep him out of trouble.
A little of both, I feel like. I haven't watched the second Incredibles since it was in theaters. Fun fact, the first Incredibles, that was the first thing that we ever had on DVD. The special edition, that was our first ever DVD. It's maybe weird that I remember that, but I used to watch the special features all the time after I'd watched the movie. Yeah. Those were our episodes. I think next time will be the first 2 episodes that originally aired, which I believe are Monkey See, Doggy Doo, and Mommy Fear. So, yeah. Tune in next time when we talk about that. And, I guess we'll see you later. If you enjoyed this episode, if you want to hear more about Powerpuff Girls, if you're psyched to hear us talk about JoJo later on, we are going to be doing a season of Powerpuff Girls, a season of JoJo, a season of Powerpuff Girls, a season of JoJo, etc. So once we get finished with this one, we will get to technically JoJo. Season 1 is parts 1 and 2 of the manga combined, and it'll be interesting to see what you think about it. It's one of my favorite anime. I feel like it doesn't earn the bizarre part until maybe part 3, but that's okay. So if you enjoyed this episode, follow us for more. Rate us. If you're listening on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and maybe leave a comment. And I guess we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.